Hey, welcome back to the Positive Side Podcast. Glad you're tuning in. Wednesday interview series continues. And you know what? One of my favorite interviews is when I interview people that I know, because not only do I never do, I never prepare for them anyways, but when I actually know the person coming on, it makes it a little bit easier. And my guest today, well, hey, real quick before we get far into it, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit that subscribe button underneath. I told you a few episodes ago, some of my goals for this year is one of the big one is I want to have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I've got 130. It is what it is. Fully, authentic. There it is. I don't have anybody following me there, but I want to. So if you're watching this and you enjoy it, make sure you hit the subscribe button and share this video. Allows other people to find it. More importantly, we want to talk today with my buddy Rich Hoppe. Now I've known Rich. Well, I mean, named him my whole life. 08er through and through. Good buddy. We see each other all the time. It's just random places where we see each other. I'll see him downtown. I'll see him at the grocery store. I mean, it's just so random, but I love seeing him. Every time we see each other, we just hit it off. And we got a lot of the similar things in common. We like entrepreneurship. We like about hitting goals. We like about just the community. But like I said, more importantly, Rich is a personal friend. So Rich, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeremy. Thanks, man. It's awesome to be on here. I appreciate the invite, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you're going across the world now. I think we're in 199 or 204 countries, whatever it is. So that's the cool thing. And the good thing about what you do and what your message is all about is it resonates no matter where you are in the world. So one of the things that I really want to talk to you about, a couple of the titles we were kind of kicking around before. You do so many things. Entrepreneurs, obviously, number one. You've started so many things and been successful at so many things. You're the co-founder of Slam City Skate Park. I want to get into that.
Yep.
You're a living legend when it comes to anything BMX. But what are you the most proud of in your entire life?
I would say my perseverance with BMX. To be honest with you, that I would say has stuck with me since I've been a child, and that of all things, kind of, if you remember being a kid, when you get to learn how to ride a bike, you get to learn how to crash the bike as well. So, being able to crash and be hospitalized as much as many times as I have, and broken as many things, and all the scrapes and bruises and cuts, and still be able to go back out and continue to push, and still at this point in time, being age 46 right now, pushing the 47 button. It's pretty gratifying to know that I've been doing this and pushing the envelope for 35 plus years, like since my first race in BMX. Been riding my bike essentially my whole life since I was able to barely walk. So,
well, where does that perseverance come from? Because you know what, we talk about things, and we talk about entrepreneurship and business and all these things, especially in this podcast. But one of the things that, and again, this time of year is just well known for that. We start these goals at the beginning of the year, and then we do them for about 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden we give up. Where does your perseverance come from, and why do you continue to keep going, and how do you do it?
Well, that's very good. That's something I've been reflecting on recently as well. Is to when I relate BMX with everyday life, just like your life, my life. How do I make things appear in my life that don't appear? How do I get things that I want? Things of that nature. I go back to the first thing when you learn how to ride a bike. You didn't know how to ride it before, and you had to persevere in order to even get the thing to roll correctly. So, step one is to make yourself do something, and you got to mentally prepare for that. There's a lot more than just getting on a bike and trying to figure it out. You've got to see yourself in that first person point of view doing whatever it is you're trying to do, whether you're riding a bike, playing a piano, playing the drums, playing basketball, whatever it is. You've got to visualize that first person point of view, and then go out and try it physically. And then you learn from your mistakes physically, and you go back and you practice mentally, and you come back to it again. And then it seems to be better every time. So I always tell people, people are astounded by tricks, BMX tricks. You do a backflip and people are blown away, and I say to you, it's a trick. To me, I've learned the trick, so it's no longer a trick to me, because I put the time into it to figure out how it all worked, to make it appear like it's fluently easy. But that time I put into it in order to make it appear fluently easy is the same amount of time I put into learning how to ride the bike in the first place. If you pick what I'm putting down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. One of the things I wrote down was, and I shared this on my page a little bit ago. It's like, do something or try something that you really suck at. And you mentioned like getting on the bike, and no pun intended, but when you fall off the bike, you got to get back on the bike. And that goes for goals right now. You fall off the wagon, get back on the wagon. You go and you go back and forth with this. But one of the things that, again, that you said, and I couldn't agree with more, is when you go after these goals and these dreams, man, you've got to understand that you got to mentally prepare for them. Like you got to
Absolutely.
mentally prepare and expect that you're going to fall off the bike. So if I'm going to fall off this bike and I'm going to fail, and I know it's coming, where is my mindset when that happens? And what am I going to do to make sure I get back on it? So when you fail, when you fall off things, what do you tell yourself to get back on, the no pun intended, no pun
Yeah.
intended, get back on
Yeah.
the
Well,
bike?
it's very difficult not to pun that one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, I tell, I mean, basically because the way, all human beings learn something, we learn by repetition. And the only thing that gets in your way is your own mind saying you can't do this, or uh, other people's small little blah blah blah. You're crazy. You can't do this. There's no way that's possible. And if you continue to just block that stuff out, I mean, in my case, when I'm working on a new trick on my bicycle, for instance, every time I fail, I know that I'm that much closer to actually pulling the trick off. So, and that kind of transferred into real life with business. I mean, if you're going to start something new, that's especially something no one's ever done before, you are absolutely going to fail a bunch. And you can look at that word fail, and it's fall, it's whatever you want it to be, and it doesn't have to be a negative word because it's part of the learning process to me. If the first time I jump my bike and try to pop one hand off, I mean, it's a little bit of a finger. You go up in the air, it's, oh, that one, and then this one, and this one, the next thing you know, the thing is all the way up in the air. But you don't go from this to this, you go very very slowly in order to pull that trick off. And then uh, each step that you take, you're basically, your brain is cataloging that and putting a sequence in place, saying, okay, this is what I got to do to get to this point. This is what I got to do to that point. And it's the same exact thing when you're trying to push yourself to do something that's good for you. You've got to eliminate basically the negative and the positive in a sense of it, and just make it be. If you follow me.
Yeah, you just got to take action. You just got to do it.
You have to do it. You got to quit thinking about it. And the less that you don't do it and the more you think about it, the less it's actually you have a chance of doing it. And that holds true in a lot of cases. When people are scared to put their foot in the water, so to speak, and the more they think about all the things that could go wrong if they do put their foot in the water, the less chance of them putting that foot in the water is going to happen. You know what I mean?
We'll talk about a little bit about some of your just about some of your hospital experiences. Yeah, talk about some of the wrecks, because I want to I want to correlate this. So tell me a little bit about some of the the surgeries, the wrecks. So tell me some of the worst ones you've had. Let me hear about all those.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. I was with my mother today. Her name's Mary Ann Hoppe. She's been around for all of it, so I've given her some gray hair at a young age, I would say, with my biking career. But one of the first times that I crashed ever on a bike, and was very young. I was going down a big hill, and it was kind of like a half paved, half dirt road. And the other neighborhood kids are around. I'm showing off. I had shorts on only, no shirt, no shoes, nothing. Full hauling, and guess I see people, I'm waving, showing off, and I just crash full speed. And I'm covered in scabs. You know what I mean? My whole body's scraped up, crying. I may have been 6, 7 years old. I don't know. But once I healed from that and I realized, okay, wow, that's amazing. Like, I'm already good to go. So I went out and try to do it again. So when I do fail like that, I always, like, if I crash like if I go ride my bike later tonight, I crash. If I can physically get back up, I get back up and immediately do that same thing I just crashed on. And just to get the block out of my head. Because if I let it sit there and smolder, so to speak, I may be scared to do it again the next time I go to. So I've made it a rule of mine. If I do crash on something I'm doing, if I can physically get up and do it, I go back and do it right away to get that fear out of my head. So if you fail at something, or something that's really scaring you, and you fail, go right back at it. Don't even hesitate. Go directly back at it, and the outcome will be different. I've noticed every time.
Well, I think it's interesting that when you related it like that, you said that if you crash and bust your arm, you come up, you're bleeding all over the place, you get right back on it. And then I think to myself that that's a physical thing. And then
Sure.
as an entrepreneur, when you fall off and you have mental scars where that didn't work, I don't want to do that again. I'm just going to put my head in the sand, or I'm embarrassed by the way people look at me. I don't want to put I don't want to put my face out there anymore because I failed. And I think that's exactly what you're saying there too, is no matter what you fail at, you've got to continue to do it. And the more you get back up right away,
Right
chances are
away.
you're not going to make the same mistakes, and it's not as scary anymore.
Yeah,
I think
because
that's brilliant.
you just made the mistake and it's fresh in your brain. I can promise you that. Even if it isn't a physical mistake that you made, and it burns you internally that when you make a mistake like that, whether
Yeah.
it be talking to a client or whatever you do, confusing something on accident. A lot of times we penalize ourselves more than we need to in a lot of cases. So
Yeah.
I try to stay away from penalizing myself. I understand that mistakes happen, and mistakes are things that I create. I am the one who deems it a mistake or not in most cases. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you've got to really learn to take it easy on yourself. You got to push yourself, of course, but you can't penalize yourself too bad for a lot of these very small, minute things that we penalize ourselves for.
I look at you as a leader in the community. Why is the community so important to you?
I think it's important to me. Before we move on, though, I got to go back to one thing.
Yeah, please.
I'm going to go back to my last decent crash. So
Okay.
that was
Yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah.
age 6, and so let's see here. Well, it was about 3 years ago. I own a skate park. You touched on that, and I was at my own skate park, riding with a bunch of friends and whatnot. I was trying to go higher, higher, higher. So I ended up putting a little bit too much juice on it. Went very high and missed the entire landing. So I went so fast. I went extremely high. I look up, look down for the landing, and I'm like, oh goodness, there goes the landing. So and I was already kind of angled like this, so there was no escape for me. Basically, landing squarely on my face. I fell. My head was probably 10, 12 feet off the ground. It was on concrete. Front wheel hit, and I just flipped straight to my face. Uh, Completely knocked out. I knocked both of my front teeth out. Broke my nose, and I broke my jaw right here. Nothing else hit but my face. I mean, it just pow.
That explains a lot, right?
That's what I try to tell people. I'm somewhat handicapped from things like
Hell
that.
yeah.
But at that point in time, I had some other issues going on in my life that, I've rode BMX at a high level for a very long time, and I was overweight. I had a lot of, personal issues that I was unhappy with myself with on the inside. And once that happened, I said, Rich, if you're going to continue to do something like this, you're going to have to treat it with respect. So I need to treat myself with respect as well. And that kind of moved into me changing my diet. And we can touch on that a little bit as well. But that particular crash, I've been unconscious a bunch, but that one actually locked me out where I was talking very slow, and I was scared if I was going to come back to a normal conversation,
Yeah.
Rich, where instead of you calling me, I'd be like, hello, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
talking like that, and in your mind, you're like, why are you talking like that? Just say it, but you can't. So, I feel for people that have that issue, because that's got to be very mental
Sure.
on one's soul to have to go through life like that. So I'm very lucky that I've been able to peek into that world, but not necessarily stay into it.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that makes a lot of sense. It's funny
yeah,
you say that because I was talking to my daughter today, and this is kind of not the same, but kind of the same. We were talking about the way people dress and what kind of cars they drive and where they live and the big houses, and
yeah,
and I kept telling her, it doesn't really, none of that really matters of what you drive, what you look like, how you dress. And what really matters is the type of person you are. And she said, well, it's kind of like your physical body. The physical body really doesn't matter at all. It's who you are within and how you take care of that actual person inside. And it was very insightful that she said it like that.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and I said, she's exactly right. And then that goes right back into this diet thing about taking care of yourself. When you click into and again, I still think we're young. I mean, there's people watching this all over the world, 60s, 70s, and hopefully 80s, 90s, who knows? But there's
Yeah,
also people a lot younger watching this. And taking care of your body, no matter what age you decide to start, is extremely important. So obviously, you mentioned the wreck really changed your outlook. And I know we've talked briefly about this, but I've followed you forever and ever and ever. Plant-based diet. I see you at the grocery store all the time. Talk a little
yep.
bit about what that has done to your body and why you did that, and talk about some of the improvements that you've seen in your life.
Yeah. So after that point, and at that point in time, I was 220 pounds, and I'm not a very tall guy, like yourself. I got a little bit on you, but I'm not horribly tall.
Everybody does.
I'm 5'9", 5'9" on a lucky day. Uh, but so I was 220, 5'9". I had the extra basically face where I couldn't see my cheekbones, and everything kind of blended together. And I just felt lethargic, and I knew that something was up. I never because I've eaten the same way my entire life. It's just how we all kind of here's your meat, your potatoes, your green beans kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I started trying to educate myself on nutrition. Luckily, the internet's here nowadays, so you have the opportunity to do it a lot quicker than trying to go rent book or get books and things of that nature. So you are able to train yourself in a sense a lot quicker nowadays, which is awesome. So I just started looking into nutrition and cholesterol and all these things that I hear and actually researching what they are, what they do, what they mean, what they're for. And, I was like, okay, well, people have high cholesterol. Why are you still eating animal products? Because cholesterol doesn't come in any other form other than animal products. So in my mind, if you got a cholesterol problem, you cut the cholesterol out and then you get back to normal. So um, instead of taking a pill, it sounds crazy, but um, I wasn't forced to by any doctor. I just wanted to perform better. I wanted to be able to ride my bike until I'm 60 years old and beyond. So the only way I was going to do that was to, hit the ground with 50, 60 pounds less weight in my mind. You know what I mean? So if I could hit the ground with that much, 6 bowling balls off my back, in a sense, it's going to be more long term for me. So I ended up losing 60 pounds when I switched over to the plant based diet. Initially, I cut meat out for the first 30 days. I didn't eat any meat. I still did cheese and eggs and things of that nature. Um, but and actually dairy. I did all dairy and eggs, and I cut meat out. But I lost quite a bit of weight in that first 30 days, and I also gained like levels in my brain. So like when you actually research the stuff, you see that fat and how it reacts with the body, your brain your brain basically when you have all that extra fat, your brain gets clogged up in a sense. And for I'm no doctor, I'm not going to try to explain exactly how it works, but
Yeah.
but
We're
but
from the same neighborhood. We're definitely no doctors.
but you can't transmit information as fast because there's too much junk in the way. Is the easiest way to do it. So as I detox myself from the meat, I found a heightened sense of awareness is the easiest thing for me to say. So I found myself more clarity and the ability to think just a lot better. And so I try to use that to my advantage as well to help propel me um, in this new lifestyle and diet, because it is very weird at first to
Yeah.
to think about not eating chicken and steak and fish and whatever. It's very very unusual when you've done you know I go to McDonald's and eat the sausage egg McMuffin with cheese on it. I have a chicken sandwich for lunch. I come home and eat a pork chop. I mean, that was
Yeah.
my entire life,
Sure.
more or less.
Well,
So
it's it's interesting you say all that, because when we talk about having your body and your mind running at the maximum optimum way, fully efficient, knocking things out. And when you go back to, and you relate these back to hitting goals and being in entrepreneurship and creating these things, when tough times do hit, when your
yeah,
body's running at a different way, it's a lot easier to overcome those things when you actually feel good. If you don't feel
it
good,
sure is.
it's like, what, this doesn't work. I'm gonna go back to normal Indiana, normal Pennsylvania, no matter where you are, you're just gonna go back to regular old lifestyle, because
Yeah,
again, you just don't feel good. So part of going for these goals and dreams that we talk about this podcast, getting unstuck in life, is about, making sure that you're not only mentally, but you're physically ready to handle things when they come up to you and obstacles. I mentioned briefly that, we joked about, being from the same neighborhood. And I want to go back to this thing about me considering you a leader in the community. You've always been
yes,
that person. Why is that so important still? And obviously you've got a son now. Before this, you didn't have any children, and now
no,
you've got a brand new son at, 40, you said 46. And
yep.
I'm curious, like, how all that comes together with you being in the community, helping kids for, I mean, you've been helping kids for years and years and years and years,
Yeah.
and you do such a great job of it. Why is that important to you?
It honestly, it gives me the same amount of whatever it is, energy that it gives the person I'm teaching, kid or adult or whatever. So I feel that I kind of caught a break in my world, in the BMX world, that I had extra ability or skill or perseverance. I wasn't the best rider. I wasn't sponsored or anything as when I was in the competition world, but I was consistently getting fourth place. I was having a great time. I was meeting a bunch of people, and just the ability to have that type of experience is what I wanted to share with other people. So a lot of people don't have anything that they can go to that completely clears our mind of all these exterior forces that come into our lives on a daily basis. So I found that riding bikes and something you're super passionate about, you're able to completely 100% zone in and do something that makes you and you only feel good. And that may be selfish, but I think being a little bit selfish is very good in that case. You know, you've got to give yourself the attention, like you said earlier, internally, to give yourself a little attaboy that you're doing a good job, that you're progressing, that you're not just a lethargic couch potato.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy seeing kids' faces, like when they see stuff they've never seen before. BMX biking is not something you see every day. So when we were live and actually in front of people and do shows, I mean, the looks on people's faces really get me going as
Yeah.
far as like how much they're enthralled by it, and how in the like the looks of, wow, how did he do that? You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And then interacting with them after the shows that we do, and then now teaching kids at the skate park. You know, I teach kids how to drop in on skateboards. I'm not a skateboarder by any means, but guess what? I can, and 99% of us tell them they can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
You've got this, you know, and a lot of the parents are like, oh, my kid's an idiot. All he does is watch YouTube. You
Yeah.
know, I'm like, well, you're definitely not helping him, you know?
Yeah.
So it is a lot of mental, like we talked about earlier. You've got to mentally prepare for things. You've got to practice it in your head, whatever you're trying to accomplish. If you just go in there without a little bit of practice, you know, like we're doing here, neither one of us prepared for this. We're completely winging it.
Of course.
But
It's the
but
best.
yeah, in certain cases that's fine. But when there's something you really got to button down for and be prepared, something you don't know about, we're talking about my life and your podcast, so we know a
Yeah.
lot about that. So we don't have to prepare, but certain things you're unaware of, you need to prepare for
Sure.
sure.
You know, you mentioned a couple things I want to pull out of that, what you were just saying. And
Sure.
this could be this could be like a business thing for you. It could be like, because you're talking about fourth place. And I think fourth place is extremely important because most people aren't going to be first place. And what
No.
that does is it almost just defeats you. And you weren't, and you knew, hey, if I can get fourth place, this is great. I'm beating people left and right, but I'm loving what I'm doing. And I think that's one of the most important things that, that if you're going to pull out of this show today is that, just because you're doing something and you're not number one in the universe, it doesn't mean that's still okay. You
Yeah.
can start a small business, you can start a hobby, but if you love doing it, isn't that enough? Why do we have to
That's it.
compare ourselves to other people and say, well, that guy's so much better at this line? Because believe me, especially for me in the podcast world, there are way better podcasts than this one. There's no question about it. But I love doing it, so who gives a shit? And the other thing you were talking about
Exactly.
was, and I say this probably 4,000 times a year especially on the show, is that, the more people you help get to their goals, the faster you're going to get to yours. And that's what it's so important to help other people, because you get better at what you're doing. You see the other people, it makes you feel good about what you're doing. And
Yeah.
man, it's just a way to 10x your goals. You'll get there so much quicker by helping other people. And then before you know, you turn around while you're helping other people, you look back at where you've come from. You're like, man, I've come a long freaking way.
Very
This is
true.
awesome. Yeah, that's what I love about what you were saying there. So that's super, super powerful things.
It definitely, if you, I always tell people, you know, you want to be a student, of course, because everyone wants to learn, but at the same time, we all need to be teachers. We are all inherently teachers. We teach every day to our own children, to people at work,
Exactly.
things of that nature. There isn't any reason why you should hold yourself back in any case from learning or teaching. I think they're the same exact thing, personally.
Yeah, exactly. Call a spade a spade. You're a leader. When you come home to your family, you're a leader. When you're out with your buddies, you're a leader. You're always a leader. And people say, well, I'm not a leader. Yeah, you are. So there's no question you are. You just
You're just
haven't
not
owned
giving
it.
it to yourself. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
You haven't
You
walked into
you are
that greatness.
standing directly in your own way, and a lot of people stand
Yeah.
right in their own way of doing anything at all. The more that you can, you know, find that inner peace and tell yourself that you are good enough. Like you said with the fourth place, I didn't give a shit at all that I got fourth place. I had a great time the whole day. I met a lot of cool friends.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't the best at racing or whatever it was, and that was fine. I still had fun. I loved what I was doing. I had a smile on my face the whole time. And there's not a lot of things, a lot of people can't say that about anything in their daily life. So some
Yeah.
people live
Yeah.
the doldrum life and the old what if and I used to, what if and I used to,
Yeah.
I used to do this, I used to do that. But if you love it, go back to doing it. That'll make you, if it makes you happy, keep doing it.
It's a shitty way to live life, and it's a shitty way to be in your deathbed thinking, man, I wish I would have. One of the things that I've really worked
Yeah.
hard on is becoming just a better person overall. And I've read a lot of books. And one of the books I've read is John Maxwell's book, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And he's got these 7 questions. I'm going to hit my man, Rich Hoppe, right in the face of them. I hope he's ready.
Oh boy, here we go.
Question number 1 from John Maxwell's book is, what is the greatest lesson you have ever learned?
I'm going to have to revert right back to the greatest lesson I ever learned. I would say to me is what we just talked about learning and teaching. If you can't do both, then you're going to have a rough time, especially if you want to propel yourself in the business world.
Yeah.
You have to learn and teach simultaneously all day long. I mean, it just it has to be. And then there's certain cases where you get to be the teacher. But if you're not learning new stuff every day, and not sharing that, then I don't think you're ever going to get ahead.
One of the things I see with a lot of people, especially when I work with my coaching clients one-on-one, is that they don't think their message is unique, and it kind of holds them back from stepping out and say, well, this message has already been told. Well, there's something about the way certain people tell the same message. I mean, I can tell a message, you can tell a message, and people may say Rich is exactly right and Jeremy is exactly wrong. It doesn't really matter. As long as that passion's there, we're always teaching, and people are always looking at us to be that leader, whether we believe it or not, whether we want it or not. And this is for everybody listening to this podcast, whether you're 70 or 15 and you're sitting at home, well, I'm not a leader. Yeah, you are. There are people looking at you for guidance and for leadership. And whether you like it or not, you have a unique opinion and unique insights that the world needs to hear. And it's the day and age we live in. Sitting on the sidelines there's no place to be. We need to get in the action and into the game and start telling the world about how great we really are.
Completely true.
Question number 2 is,
yes, sir.
For Rich Hoppe, is what are you learning now?
Right now, I am really I'm trying to learn, I should say. So when you own a skate park, there is no horribly awesome business model for it. So it's kind of seasonal. So I'm really trying to learn how to have that thing generate cash. So we're trying to save money up to go bigger, and we want to do something that's very unique, like involving mountain bikes and a lot more family friendly stuff versus just the core sports like BMX and skateboarding. So I have a vision to have something indoors that's here in the area that will cater to a pretty broad 3-hour radius around town that will pull people in to come and ride some bikes, skateboards, and scooters. Maybe put a rock climbing wall in there, maybe stick a bar in there. I don't know. Maybe a nursery, somewhere to watch the kids, stuff like that. So that I'm trying to invent that is what I'm trying to do right now. That's been my goal for about 5 years now. So it's been in my head for 5 years, and I've been shaping it in a sense in there. And then, I've been putting small pieces in place, and by, hopefully 2 to 3 years from now, I will have exactly that here in town. And so that's what I'm currently on right now, is that 100%.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think it'll actually 100% happen. And I love your time frame too. That's another thing I think with when people start and go after businesses, they have a misunderstanding about time frames. When you go after these things, hey, you may have, excuse me, you may catch lightning in a bottle, and I hope you do. But chances are these things take time. They take years and years and years of consistently doing over and over, consistently failing, asking for help. I mean, it's not it's not just something that, and that's why you got to love what you do. Like you're not going to go out and do something that you don't like, because you're not going to see success for a long, long time. But eventually, it always has, it always will. Something will happen. You just can't give up. That's the biggest thing.
I have had anybody that's gone to college and looks at our business plan and books, they told me to completely shut up the thing and leave immediately, because it's never going to work.
Yeah.
So which drives me. So
absolutely. Let's go. Yeah,
thanks,
exactly.
Thanks for your opinion, buddy, but just sit back and watch.
Yeah, exactly. Question number 3 is, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but how has failure shaped your life?
Yeah, I would say, I think initially failure was a kind of a cuss word to me earlier in my time. And now it's something that is inherent as me opening the refrigerator when I wake up in the morning. It's just, it's going to happen. And like I said earlier, it's not necessarily a positive or a negative or a correct or incorrect. It's just a variable that whatever you're trying to do, you've got to make work. So you got to use it. If you mess something up in your mind, you know where you messed it up, and you use that failure as a variable to next time around, we're going to not do that, and then until you hit the next one. And then you're like, okay, well, I've made it steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I keep screwing up step 8. So we got
Yeah.
to change step 8. You know what I mean? So you just got to reflect and keep going. I mean, you really got to keep trying and trying until you get it right. I mean, if you can't get it right, then you look for help, but you don't give up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's in
Well,
essence.
it's funny you mentioned the word failure. It's like we just, whatever that word, that whoever made that word first, we just put this connotation with something bad happening. And in reality, I don't even know why it has to be the word failure. Figure out a different word for it. Like you said, maybe it's just part of it. It's just a I don't know, decision that maybe should have been made different. I don't know how else to explain it, but the word failure just has such a shitty connotation to it that we think failure.
It
Oh my
does.
God, I don't want to fail. I mean,
Nobody wants to fail.
yeah, but I mean, you have
But
to.
the most successful people have failed more than most people listening to this have ever dreamt about.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I can't even count the amount of times I've crashed on my bike. I mean, I can't even count. There's no possible way. And I'm not talking about falling over. I'm talking about crashing very hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Times where people are not going to get back up and never ride a bike again. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. So
That's great. Well,
so
it's
I'm
that
very
old
good at
picture.
failing.
Yeah, what's that old picture that I always think about failure is that when you see like an iceberg, you just see the tip above the water, and then this gigantic underneath, all the
Yeah.
failures and all the mess ups and all the wrong decisions and all that.
There,
You see the little bit of failure. Oh my God, that guy's failure, or that guy's successful. Well, you didn't see the big ass iceberg underneath. This gigantic that failed forever and ever and ever. But
true.
it's such a great visualization. Question number 4 is, who do you know that I should know?
Ooh, who do I know that you should know? I'm gonna go with a guy by the name of, oh my goodness, hang on, Aaron Robles.
I don't know Aaron Robles.
You know,
No.
he's an entrepreneur in town. He's a younger cat. He's in his mid 20s, late
Okay.
20s maybe, and he has started a thing called Founders Spark. And basically, he is going out and interviewing people that are founders of whatever they do, and he's getting, basically he's not getting the standard news version of their story. He's going deep into their story to get
cool.
all the pitfalls and things of that nature. So I actually did an interview with him a while back, and very killer. He's interviewed a few people in our community that I think that you may want to be on that list of people to be interviewed by him. He's a super good dude, and I think he fits right in this little sphere of positivity that we're in here for sure. So that guy is the guy.
I would love that.
And I'll throw a pitch so that way you can actually beat him.
Yeah, heck yeah. Put a good word in for me, and let's we'll connect through social media or through email or whatever. That would be awesome. And then I mean, town's not that big. We can figure it out. So I appreciate that.
Right. He does post a lot of pictures with his shirt off posing because he's working out nowadays. So
whatever. To each their own. That's all good. You're not gonna see me doing that anytime soon. Believe that.
If you're into that kind of thing.
Question number 5 is
yes.
What have you read that I should read?
The last thing that's gonna, now as soon as you're asking that, it just completely bombed out of my head. It was you're gonna have to help me here.
I need more than that. It could
it
be anything,
was-
whatever. Pick another one, or while you're looking at that one.
Yeah, no, I'm using my phone for the camera right now, so I can't
Yeah.
look at it to
That's
look
all
that
right.
up. But I can tell you what it was about. It was about taking ownership of yourself, more or less, and not making excuses for what the things that you really want to possess, not possess, but to do.
Reminds me of a book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. I don't know if you ever read that one. That book is awesome. I mean, I listen to his podcast, the Jocko podcast, and he's just he's a retired Navy SEAL. He's just all around badass. And he talks about in the book is that every decision you've ever made in your life has brought you to this exact point. So no matter where you are, if you're homeless, if you're a billionaire, if you're miserable with your personal life, you're miserable with professional life, it's no one else's fault but yours. And every single decision that you make on a daily basis brings you to the point that you are at this exact time. So there's no one else to blame but yourself. So, if you look back 20 years, I should have went this way or that way. You made the decision. It's your fault. Own it. and then Let's Get Better. So that's a great book if you haven't read that one. Extreme
Yeah, I'm gonna
Ownership
have to
by
check
Jocko
that one
Willink.
out, and I will shoot you a message of that book that I'm talking about. It's
Perfect.
very good too.
No worries. Well, yeah, definitely. If anybody's out there listening to that one, man, that I listened to the audio book first, and then went out and bought the actual book itself, and it's awesome. Check that out, and then check out the podcast too, Jocko Podcast. It's pretty hardcore. It gets into a lot of military, um, like different wars and things and different operations that he gets into and why they worked and why they didn't, and so it gets gets a little rough, but it's just so brilliant of a podcast, and I'm a big fan of his. So check
Jocko,
that out.
sweet. Yeah, I'll have to check that
Jocko
out.
Willink, yeah, Jocko's a badass. Question number 6 is, what have you done that I should do?
What have I done that you should do? Wow, I've done a lot of weird things, and I know you have too.
Absolutely.
I would say one of the things I've done recently, the last couple of years, was I got a desk at a work share place.
Yeah.
So it's one of those places you pay a monthly fee, and you go down there, and basically it's an environment of entrepreneurs that are trying to start something or that have something kind of started, and they're in the incubator type stage. There's one in Fort Wayne called Start Fort Wayne, and I was a member there for about a year, but I made a ton of connections, and I had I can't tell you how many conversations down there just exactly like the one we're having right here,
Yeah.
with a lot of like-minded folks, and I learned a lot from them, and as well, kind of like the learning teaching thing. I think that I taught a lot of people things that, a, what not to do in certain situations, and b, oh yeah, I've already ran into that situation, try this, and just that type of environment in a place like that, pretty killer. So, and even if you've got your home office and your office at your office,
Yeah.
that thing allows you to get away from all of it going on. And sometimes I would just go down there, stick these things on, pop my computer open, and if I had a couple hours of things where I needed no distractions, I mean, that was the absolute place for me to get that done. So,
Hmm.
if you hadn't tried something like that, I highly recommend doing that. It's pretty cheap, and they got great coffee.
Perfect. I have not tried that, and I've thought about that. I've thought about looking at. I've actually only even thought about buying a building and then almost having like a studio for podcasters. Have multiple
Yeah,
studios, or for a musician or something, or singer or something. Have like multiple soundproof rooms, and that way they could do whatever you wanted to do in there. Bring your own
yeah,
stuff, and
I
but
think that would be very cool. Yeah, that Start Fort Wayne community. That's where I actually met Aaron Robles, who I was talking to about.
oh,
I
okay.
actually kind of helped him along. We had a lot of lunches, and as he was starting this Founder Spark thing, hopefully I was instrumental in some of his decisions, but I think I was, because we sat down and talked a lot. I actually haven't spoke with him for a while, so I want to put that on my list to sit down with him again, get
Aaron
some lunch.
Robles.
And yep, Robles. He's got
Uh,
a pretty good story too. Immigrant, and
yeah.
he had a lot of things he had to fight coming here. So he's got a really good dude, really good dude.
Much love to him. Final question for Rich
Boom.
Hoppe. Rich, how can I add value to you?
You can add value to me by continuing to do exactly what you're doing, right, sir.
I can do that.
Because every time I pull up you on Instagram or happen to see something, you know what? It's never anything that I'm like, damn you. I'm like, yes, yes, keep pushing that. And then, I love seeing the fact that, just like you said earlier, you don't give a shit if I'm watching, two people are watching, or 150,000 people are watching. You're doing this because it's something that you internally love and enjoy doing, and
Yeah.
it helps your inner being, as well as helps, maybe one sentence that either one of us said changes someone's life today, that catches this 10 years from now, who knows. But just that thought and that mindset is killer, because a lot of people are afraid to put it out there. So I commend you big time for what you're doing.
I appreciate that, my friend. It's interesting when I put the book out there recently, and the book is sold to, copies all over the country, a few in Canada, which is kind of cool. But what the biggest connection in is the people, a lot of them are locally that I get the biggest connection. And what you just said there is, sometimes you put one sentence out there that'll make a big difference. And I hope someone got a sentence out of this podcast and take one thing
Me
away,
too.
and like you said, change their lives. Because, and even in the book that I wrote, it's 77 pages. There's nothing, it's not very long, but the emails and the messages that I've got that has changed their lives is well worth it. If I don't sell another book the rest of my life, the people that I know personally, friends and family that have reached out to me and said, Jeremy, similar things have happened to me. You've changed my life. You have no idea. And man, dude, that's what it's all about. That's why I do the podcast. That's why you do what you do.
Yeah, it makes your heart glow, literally. You know what I mean?
It does, man. And it's, like I got a message today from Amanda Ballard. You know, Amanda.
Yeah.
And she reached out and said she bought 10 books today and she's blown away with it. And I mean, it's stuff like that maybe, and
So
this is
awesome.
why, this is why I tell people to keep going for their goals. It's like, maybe, just maybe, it might make an impact on one person and it will change their lives. And isn't that enough? If you
Yeah,
change one person, man, that's the butterfly effect, right? They
it sure
change someone
is.
else's life and then they're changing their family's lives and their family's changing their lives. And we're all in it together. In the time of the world that we're in with so negative, all the crazy shit going on,
Good
this is a
Lord,
place
yes.
we can all come and hang out and look at some positivity. So Rich, where can everybody find you? How can they help your dreams and goals come true with the
Sure.
skate park? Tell
Um,
everybody about that.
yeah, you can find me. I'm on Instagram and Facebook currently. I'm not on Twitter, and I've left LinkedIn. I don't know. I just didn't find anything in there. It just sucked to me, so I left.
Fair enough.
And then Slam City Skate Park. I also work for Wonder Wheels BMX. It's a stunt team. So if you need, and we're really down on doing stunts this year. So I didn't do a single BMX show last year. It was the first time since I was like 14 years old that I
That's too
didn't do a
bad.
BMX show.
Yeah.
So that sucked. And I've got friends that their whole entire livelihood is doing BMX shows. And so I had a guy that did, a guy, friend of mine, a real good friend of mine who lives in Indy, did 9 shows last year. And he typically does about 200.
Mm,
So his
so good.
income is smashed. And, his livelihood has been taken away from him in a sense because he's an entertainer. So a lot of the entertainers out there have lost. And those people provide that, if I hadn't seen an entertainer when I was 10, 11 years old doing tricks on a BMX bike, I would never wanted to do it. So, I mean, I really feel that we're missing a lot. Society's missing a lot by not being able to gather and
Yeah.
go to any event at all. It's disgusting, but hopefully we get to switch around.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're doing, obviously, it doesn't go unnoticed. I notice, and hopefully by having you on the show, will help promote that and help promote the community involvement. And I'm super proud of your brother. I love you to death. And like I said, reach out to Rich and see where you can find him. If you got any questions for me, obviously, email me, jeremy@jeremytodd.com. Link up on YouTube. Make sure you like that, subscribe, all that good stuff. Find the podcast. I mean, I've been doing the podcast for 4 years now. I'm on Stitcher.
Awesome.
I'm on iTunes. Yeah, I'm on Spotify. I'm on iHeartRadio, Pandora. I mean, I'm on everything. Find me there, subscribe, leave those reviews. That allows other people to find the show. Buy the book, jeremytodd.com. You've got greatness within. Like always, this is The Positive Side.